Universal Studios Hollywood is introducing the California Neighbor Pass. For the neighborly price of just $119 online, you get over 200 days in the park. So swing by and share some laughs with your neighbors, like the Minions. Or Homer Simpson.
Go nuts.
Even go on an adventure with Harry Potter.
Stay close and follow me!
Visit UniversalStudiosHollywood.com to get over 200 days of thrills, laughter, and wonder with the new California Neighbor Pass for $119 online. Pass valid for 9 months from selected first visit date. Blackout dates and restrictions apply.
Blog Talk Radio.
It's Tia.
Hello?
Have you checked the children?
They're all hot dogs.
Whatever you do, don't fall asleep.
I'm afraid!
Don't be afraid!
No. Be afraid. Be very afraid.
Gingy.
Pain has a face. Allow me to show it to you. Gentlemen, I am pain.
I met this 6-year-old child with this blank, pale, emotionless face. The blackest eyes. The devil's eyes.
Have you checked the children?
Have you checked the children?
Hi, I'm Chucky. Wanna play?
I think he's in trouble.
Julie, this guy, if he can't take a joke, he stinks.
When there's no more room in hell, the dead will walk here.
Look, just a flesh wound.
Hey, Flesh Wound Radio freaks. I am Daniel Shine, joined as always by Todd Loya. How's it going, Todd?
I'm doing well, and Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you too. Yeah, we're back after, well, technically not really a hiatus because we did pre-record those commentary tracks for you, but back to normal for the first time in a few weeks here. So we're excited to be back. We hope all you Horror Society fans had an amazing New Year's Eve and are, ending things with us tonight. So, yeah, what'd you end up doing, Todd, for the holiday?
We after driving back from Arizona to California, we went to 80s bar club out here. It was very busy, very packed, and the house cover band is the Flux Capacitors, and they are in their Back to the Future gear.
That is cool. That is very cool. Yeah, I spent my New Year's Eve luckily getting to see the interview at the Alamo Draft House. They had it's really the only place that was really showing it near me personally, and obviously not a horror title, but I actually thought it was really funny. I don't know if did you get a chance to see it, Todd?
I have not. The theaters that had it while it was in Arizona were kind of few and in between. I actually plan on ordering it on demand, because I know pretty much all the cable providers, satellite providers, other than Dish Network, should have it. I believe tomorrow. All the ones that were left out.
Yeah, for whatever it's worth, I was kind of thinking going in, and I mean, this is relevant to the horror genre in a way, because this whole thing set a dangerous precedent, and we probably would have talked about it more if we weren't on hiatus, but just the fact that somebody can raise shit and get a film shelved like that, which for me this was just the most boneheaded move by Sony. I mean, these guys could have made a fortune off of that movie if they didn't flip out about it like they did, and the theaters pulling it and what have you.
I think actually the way it ended up, they probably will end up making more money, because I think if they just were like, we're just putting it out and didn't even comment and just let it ride. I don't know. I think the fact that it almost didn't happen and then it did, the way it did end up going, I think it's, gonna go out because honestly, I remember hearing the rumblings when the ads first came out. North Korea wasn't happy, and I was like, yay! I didn't really care. And honestly, even with it's definitely, I was like, saw the trailers and I had no interest in it, and I do want to see it now. I mean, probably because of all the hype, and I guess it's my cinephilic duty to watch the movie now. Yeah, because North Korea's gonna get pissed over a dumb bromance comedy that no one gives a shit about.
Well, people give a shit about it now. It was actually a near sellout, if not a sellout, at the Alamo last night. And I'm not a big Seth Rogen fan personally. I like James Franco for the most part, but this was actually really funny. I mean, it's a stupid comedy, but it's funny stupid. So you guys will probably want to check it out if you can.
It's definitely not one I would have rushed to see under any other circumstances.
Yeah. It really works. The guy that plays Kim Jong-un was particularly funny. And, like I said, I mean, Seth Rogen, most of his stuff is not very good, but this was a rare exception for me. So yeah, that was my New Year's.
And apparently we found out that, his father had a sense of humor where, Kim Jong-un is the current one, right? I get the two mixed up. Where his father, Team America, no one cares. I guess they didn't know how to hack back then.
They just got the internet when Team America came out. It's really, really funny, and like I said, censorship is shit. So if you can see it in the theater, I would go see it. If you like dumb comedies, it made me laugh. It actually, pretty much everybody there seemed to be into it. So definitely check that out, and don't let people tell you what you can and can't watch. It's like I said, it's a dangerous precedent. I think people are going to think twice now about, do we want to make fun of this country or that country? It's not a good precedent to set. So definitely get out there and support it.
And that's the last thing we need in this, I don't want to say over PC because that's not even it. The overprotective Hollywood, of putting their money into something as is. Everything has to be, sugar sweet, palpable to all audiences, and now they got to worry about that too. So I think that if they would have just caved, it would have just been basically superhero movies, and that's it. Something that can't offend anyone, except for people with spider arms and shit.
Yeah, superhero movies and romantic comedies with Gerard Butler, perhaps. I think that's all we'll get.
Those offend me, though. So.
Yes. So, there you go. See, now you can complain about that, and people won't get to see Gerard Butler, charm Kate Winslet or whoever. So yeah, that was just something. Like I said, it's old news now, but we weren't here to talk about it, so figured we'd bring it up. But yes, getting into the show tonight with some very sad news, unfortunately. Actor and Lost Boys star Edward Herrmann has just passed away at age 71 after a long battle with brain cancer. He was in the hospital for the last 3.5 weeks and finally lost his battle Wednesday morning in a New York hospital. Obviously we know him from Lost Boys, but Edward Herrmann has been in many, many, many different things. I mean, he's a very well-known character actor, most recently Wolf of Wall Street, The Aviator, Great Gatsby, but we'll always know him as Max from the 1987 vampire classic Lost Boys. Very sad news. I had the pleasure of meeting him at, I believe it was Chiller, it might have been Monster Mania, but it was one of his first signings, I recall. People were really, really excited about it, and he finally got to make his appearance. There was quite a bit of fandom there, because you always had Brooke McCarter and Billy Worth that had done the convention rounds, but he was a fresh face, and he was very nice to everybody. He seemed genuinely into the convention experience from what I gathered, which isn't always the case for a guy that has a pretty respectable career even outside of the horror genre, obviously. And yeah, he will be missed. Todd, I know you're a Lost Boys fan, right? Anything to say about Edward Herrmann?
No, it's funny because my wife was the one who told me, and I was like, it took me a minute to click the name because he is such a character actor. You see him in everything, and it actually was like, oh shit, that was Max. Yeah, it's sad. I mean, 71 isn't that old, nowadays.
No, young now, yeah.
Yeah. So.
Yeah. So well, he will be missed, and yeah, definitely, probably sit down when you get some time and watch Lost Boys and enjoy all of his great performances. My Boyfriend's Back was another one he was in. I'm trying to think of other horror titles he did, but great career, tons and tons of movies. So yes, in more lighter news, and kind of a bit of a surprise actually. This is God, how is over 40 years, and we're going to get a sequel to this one. Silent Night, Bloody Night 2 Revival is currently filming. This is just from the press release. To All A Goodnight, filming has begun on New Wave Independent Pictures' Silent Night, Bloody Night 2 Revival. The movie is a direct sequel to Theodore Gershoni's 1974 Gothic proto-slasher, taking place 40 years later and expanding on the original mythology. Jennifer Runyon, Corman, and Jeff Dylan Graham join the cast. The cast principals are Julia Farrell and Luc Bernier. Supporting cast members include Pete Lippens, Jenny Caroline, Jeanne Kern, Rich Kern, Mike Crawford, Brianna Mitchell, and several other people you probably haven't heard of. Guest star Jennifer Runyon Corman survived one of the very first Christmas slashers, which ironically enough we will be reviewing tonight on Blu Ray, David Hess's To All A Goodnight, and went on to several roles including Ghostbusters, A Very Brady Christmas, and of course Jeff Dylan Graham is an acclaimed independent actor known for Seed 2, Fell, and Witchcraft 11. Silent Night, Bloody Night 2 is directed by Dustin Ferguson from a screenplay by John Kleiza. And yes, this will be distributed in early 2015, and I'm kind of excited for this one. Like I said, that's a long-ass time for a sequel. Like I said, 41 years. Were you a fan of the original, Todd? I'm sure you have the Code Red double disc with the Invasion of the Blood Farmers, like I do.
Yes, I do, and I am a fan. Doesn't break the record for the longest amount of time between sequels. The record is still Wizard of Oz: Return to Oz. People argue that one. They say Return. Some people say it's not a sequel, but they made sure that they got the sequel rights, and that is definitely a sequel. And yeah, I don't know how Great and Powerful Oz that wouldn't fall in just because of the fact it's not a sequel. It doesn't have the ruby slippers. They didn't buy the rights. So, and then also real quick on that one, I wanted to point out, in case you rush to Amazon or whatever, and even though the movie's not done, be forewarned. There is a film called Silent Night, Bloody Night, The Homecoming. This is not a sequel nor a remake to the original film, although it's pretty much marketed like it's one or the other.
Yeah, that was, and I know that pissed a lot of people off. I never actually saw it. My understanding is that was particularly dreadful. I can't say whether that's the case or not, but yeah, I'm actually glad you brought that up. So yeah, I don't know that there's a pre-order date on this one yet. I don't believe there is, but yeah.
Yes, I just wanted to throw that out as a warning. It's probably somewhere along the lines of the, I don't even want to say whatever happened to the Toolbox Murders 2.
Yes, we reviewed that apparently not official version of Toolbox Murders a couple of years ago now, or whatever it's been. And I can't imagine how they would cut together something salvageable out of that mess, but who knows? Maybe one day we'll see.
They did have a release for it under the Coffin Baby title that just disappeared all of a sudden because we reported that was coming out. And I know it did manage to come out somewhere overseas, but I haven't been able to track it down yet. I don't know which country.
Yeah, I don't know. I remember when we reviewed that, ironically, I know somebody that I can't recall if she was involved originally when Tobe Hooper was attached to it, or if she was actually involved in the actual version that apparently was shot. But a very angry email about how that was not the official version and it was an illegal version, and so that movie's obviously a bit of a clusterfuck right now. I don't know what's going on lawsuit wise, but we'll see. I mean, like I said, that's one of those ones I think almost like a Sin City where they waited too long, because the Toolbox Murders remake, reboot, whatever you want to call it, when it came out in like 2003, I think it was, 2004 maybe, was surprisingly well received. People genuinely seem to like it, at least, from what I recall. And I don't know. I think it's a little bit long to wait for a sequel, but you never know. But yes, in other news, actually H.P. Lovecraft news, which is always one of my personal favorites. A new Lovecraft-inspired film is in the works, and according to Variety, independent production company Radioactive Giant has acquired the rights to develop, produce, and distribute Miskatonic, a feature film inspired by the works of horror fiction icon H.P. Lovecraft. Miskatonic was created in the Lovecraft tradition of dark fantasy, sci-fi, and horror. Lovecraft repeatedly used the fictional and prestigious Miskatonic University located in Massachusetts and named after the fictional Miskatonic River, with its first appearance in Lovecraft's 1922 story, Herbert West Reanimator. Albert Sandoval and Damon Hillen will produce. Sandoval will also direct from a script by Devlin Mann and Stephen Dare. Radioactive Giant is planning production of Miskatonic for late 2015. So, yeah, good news. Always great to see another Lovecraft adaptation. And the last bit of news I have, and this is actually more of a heads up than news at this point, because I think we reported about the release a while back. Hollywood Chainsaw Hookers, according to Fred Olin Ray from his Facebook page, is getting a Blu Ray release, as we reported, and it's going to be available in a very limited edition, autographed edition by Fred Olin Ray on Amazon anytime now. If you're listening to this show right now, it's not up, correct, Todd? At least as of an hour ago that I checked.
I double-checked. It is not up yet. I've been checking, like you, constantly.
Yeah, I've been checking constantly. Did he ever say how many copies are going to be available for the signed edition?
I think that's all of them. I think they're just doing that because I know they went ahead and printed them double-sided. And I actually really liked the way that he decided to sign them. And I wish other, companies would take note, because if anyone hasn't seen it, where the Specials Features block is on one side, it's kind of like a little splashy, like almost red, I don't want to say blood, but just a red area splotched on the back with the features over it. And then on the reverse, it's the exact same artwork, and in that little red splotch area, there's the special features aren't listed, and he's been signing them all there. And that's like perfect, because sometimes, you don't want the signature on the cover. I just really like that idea.
Yeah, I've never been, even at conventions, I've known several friends who love getting DVDs signed, and it's never been my thing. I just, because number one, you don't see it because they're on your shelf, presumably, where you really can't really display a DVD. So I've never thought it was a big deal. I remember I was at the AVNs, and adult film star Dumais was signing some DVDs I bought, and it's like I had like 10 of them, and I think she signed like 2 or 3, and I was just like, that's fine. I just don't care about people signing my discs. But actually looking at his, I think that's a very cool way to do it. I hope he does it with scalps as well. I guess we'll have to wait and see, but I would imagine he probably will. So, yeah, that'll pop up apparently any time now, because I believe he said Christmas to New Year's. So keep your eyes on that. I guess it's not that limited, apparently, though, so that's good news.
Well, yeah, I want to say it's probably 500 unless they reprint. But I know, because I know he did say in between Christmas and New Year's, but it's what Amazon gets him and puts him on the fulfillment thing. And this is, that was a slow week, so I wouldn't be surprised to see him pop up tomorrow or even Monday, the first couple real business days of the year.
Yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to that one. I'm a big Fred Olen Ray fan in general, so I really look forward to it. And Todd, there's a couple other news bits that you have for us.
I do, and this one comes from Neil Marshall, and Arrow in the Head caught up with Neil Marshall, who clued them in on the status of both his remake of Trollhunter and his new Dracula tale, The Lost Voyage of Demeter. And basically what he had to say was these projects are still very much alive. It's that thing where at some point something will click into place and it'll happen. You've kind of got to stick with them as long as you can. I'm still very, very passionate about doing Trollhunter and Last Voyage of Demeter. They're great projects. I'm sticking with them, so fingers crossed we'll get to see them one day. Pertaining to Demeter, I've got a good twist on it. It could be really awesome. It could be a really awesome project. Very great. It's very scary. Stay tuned. So that's some good news from that. I wasn't a huge Trollhunter fan, but I am very interested. Okay, so I'm not alone in that one. But I am very curious to see his take on it, because I do love, Neil Marshall's work, and that's definitely one I think he could do something different and cool at the same time.
Yeah, Neil Marshall, I think I've loved everything he's done off the top of my head, and I really wouldn't mind seeing a reboot of Trollhunter. I enjoyed that movie. It's just one that I felt was really overhyped. It wasn't this fantastic movie. I remember, I guess, a couple of years ago, it was like hitting like number 1 on some people's best of lists for the year, and I just didn't quite get it. The creatures were very cool. There was certainly some interesting things to recommend that one, but overall, I just didn't quite get the love. But yeah, I really would like to see what Neil Marshall does with that, and I think we could use a very scary Dracula tale, because even though I didn't hate it, Dracula Untold was certainly not a scary Dracula flick. So good news.
Are you forgetting about Dario Argento's Dracula?
Yeah, I blocked that one out. I think that's much like a perverted uncle. I think most horror fans have sort of blocked out that 90 minutes of their life. God, that was every bit as bad as people said it was. I was watching that one in awe.
Yeah, but did you watch it in awe in 3D?
No, I did not, and I don't feel I need to go back and watch it in 3D. That was, I don't know, I don't need shit flung in my face in 3D.
3D praying mantises, that's all I'm saying. But the one biggest complaint I know people had was how cheap it looked. And I know that had a lot to do with the 3D, because the first time I watched it 3D, and it didn't have that cheap look until it's like I'm going to, kind of click through it, look at it in 2D, and I was like, ugh. It just looked so much cheaper.
Mm-hmm.
But, okay.
Yeah, I have faith Neil Marshall will deliver something better than Dario Argento's Dracula.
I think there's a pretty good show. On to, well, I was going to say some lighter news, but maybe not. In a new interview with Empire Magazine, director Paul Feig, I never get his name right, and I hate that I sort of asked you before. Is it Feig?
Paul Feig, who cares?
Okay, I'll go with Feig. It sounds less offensive. In a new interview with Empire, director Paul Feig revealed that he's intent on his new movie being the scariest Ghostbusters film to date, indicating that if he had his way, nobody under 17 would be allowed to buy a ticket. But in all actuality, we know that's not a possibility, but it would be nice if he got his way. And here's what he had to say. I want ours to be scarier than the original, to be quite honest. Katie Dippold and I are so focused on wanting to do a scary comedy, we don't want to hold back. The reason I do a lot of R-rated comedies is that you want a movie to feel honest. But the Ghostbusters world doesn't need that level of swearing. We'll have to be PG-13 with this one. I would like to make it R-rated, but I won't. You want the biggest number of people to watch it and not be put off by it. Jeez, that sounds like direct studio memo.
It sounds like a warning almost. Like, don't get your hopes up. I'd like to make it R-rated, but it's not my choice, so don't blame me for what you're going to get.
Yeah, pretty much. Feig also talked more about the concept of the film, once again stating that we'll have no direct ties to the original franchise. I have too much respect for... he said, I have too much respect for the original one to do a sequel, he said. There is also the feeling that once the world knows ghosts and has seen them busted on such a large scale, they run the risk of becoming pedestrian. There's something fun about introducing our world, which has never seen ghosts, to the phenomena of ghosts. I love origin stories and introducing new characters. Okay, I'm sorry, I was taking that one as I was reading it. Several actresses, including Jennifer Lawrence and Emma Stone, are reportedly interested in joining... Yeah. I'm reportedly interested in joining the cast for the all-female reboot. Though he confirms that no decisions have been made. Right now, honestly, there could be 50 Ghostbusters, said the director. I'm just wanting to get our first draft of the script together to go. Who makes sense in these roles? If I put the list in front of me and they have said they want to do it, talk about a Sophie's Choice. When you do a movie like Ghostbusters, people get interested. Expect much more in years and 20. Yeah. My level of interest has dropped immensely for this film. I'll be honest.
I mean, the whole PG-13 thing, it's
that doesn't even bother me.
No, it's kind of silly for him to say that because, I mean, that's Ghostbusters. Of course it's going to be PG-13. You can make a scary PG-13 Ghostbusters. I mean, I'm not really expecting Slimer to rip somebody's fucking face off. I mean, it's not, I don't think there's an anticipation for it being a bloodbath. But, yeah, I do have a bad feeling when I'm hearing names like Jennifer Lawrence and Emma Stone being thrown around. I don't quite know how that's going to work. I don't quite know why it's an all-female team. Not that that's necessarily a bad thing. It just seems like an odd choice. I would have maybe made it more of a mixture of genders. I don't know. It's just I'm not super psyched for it. I just have a very bad feeling this is going to be typical Hollywood, and they're just not going to be able to recapture the magic. And I'm really dreading what Slimer might look like.
Yeah, I wonder if we'll get one Black Lady Ghostbuster 2, just to kind of keep it up with the original. I don't know.
I don't know. Jennifer Lawrence. God, I don't know who should really round this out. I mean, I was kind of thinking that it might be. I mean, I could be wrong, but isn't Paul Feig the guy that did Bridesmaids?
Yes, and she has been talked about as one of her and well, which one are you talking? Are you talking about? Oh, geez, I can't think of the name.
Kristen Wiig, Melissa McCarthy. I was like, God, I bet one or maybe both of them could show up.
Both of those were talked about with Emma Stone and one other name before Jennifer Lawrence's name got batted around. I mean, honestly, it might have been, I think it was Bill Murray who said his ideal female for Ghostbusters.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, but
I don't know if
I know that both their names have
hitting
been
in a tank or something. It's going to work for this.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm just if it would have happened 2 years ago, it would have been fine. You know.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll see. I mean, of course, we'll give it a fair shot. I just could have thought of so many cool people that they could have put into this. You know, even the fact that we didn't get our sequel that I think everybody was hoping for. There's a lot of really cool people I can imagine being in this movie that could have made it work.
Yeah, but you know what? That's the problem. I don't think we get the cool people. You know, we wanted to make it work. If they did a male Ghostbusters team, we'd have Seth Rogen, Ed Helms, and I don't know who else are two generic comedy actors. You know, wait, maybe
John
we get
Paul Rudd.
I don't think we get Sean William Scott. I think Paul Rudd and wait, the little short black dude, the one who's in everything now.
I know who you're talking about.
Kevin Hart. Jesus, thank you.
There you go.
Okay, I was having it. Okay, it's been while we have only been technically off air 1 week, it's been like a month for us, so we're getting our groove back. And yesterday was New Year's Eve. Come on, give us a break. Okay, I guess in another bit of sad news, we have another rest in peace, and that was Rhodes Reasons. And while his name might not exactly jump out at you, fans of classic kaiju films will definitely know the man well, especially if they happen to be fans of the 1967 Monster Mash King Kong Escapes. It was in that film that Mr. Reason portrayed surly Commander Carl Nelson, an American who had the balls of steel to withstand a fight between both Kong and Robot Kong. Reasons, who appeared in over 230 films, television, and theater, died peacefully in his sleep in the early hours of the 26th of December. So just another sad.
Great character actor. You don't know the name, but you certainly know the work.
Definitely. And I think that's all we have of news, unless I'm missing anything.
One last bit before we get into our reviews. Adam Green, his latest directorial film, Digging Up the Marrow, has some release news. You can look for the flick in February 20th in limited theatrical and also on VOD via RLJ Image Entertainment. Starring, written by, and directed by Adam Green and inspired by the artwork of artist Alex Pardee, the film stars Ray Weiss, Will Barrett, and a roster full of horror genre favorites and iconic artists, all appearing as themselves. The storyline follows filmmaker Adam Green, who receives a package from a strange man played by Weiss, claiming he can prove that monsters exist. He and his crew are taken on a mysterious, fantastical, and terrifying journey into the shadows deep down under the ground below our feet. Digging Up the Marrow is a documentary-style film that blends reality with fantasy in a way that will leave even the most hardcore skeptics believing in the existence of monsters. So, yeah, this is one that's been apparently in development for a very long time. They have the poster art now, and, yeah, it'll be interesting to see another non-Hatchet flick from Adam Green. It could work. I enjoy him on Holliston, so I think he might end up doing a decent job in this.
And I do have a little bit of an update on Coffin Baby. I did a little researching. It is available on Amazon DE, the German Amazon site. There's quite a few different versions. The one that is sold through Amazon and not third parties is Coffin Baby - The Toolbox Killer is Back, and it's on DVD and Blu Ray. And then there's a couple media books and Blu Rays that were limited, like they like to do in Germany, and it's Coffin Baby, the unrated director's cut. So I don't know if there's a couple different cuts floating around in Germany or not, but I may have to import one of those and see what the final cut looks like.
That might not be a good idea. How much did we pay for that one? It wasn't cheap. Like, we paid like $27 for that apparently illegal copy.
Yes, and we did not know that. And we should say we were not reviewing a bootleg. We were, but unbeknownst to us, because we purchased it from Amazon through their now, isn't it the now defunct Crate Space?
I believe so. Yeah.
I'm not. It may still be. But yeah, that's how we had it. It was apparently, we grabbed it just in time, or too bad we grabbed it in time, because it was only out for probably about a week. Yeah.
I still have it somewhere. I probably use it as a coaster now, but yeah, that's brave, Todd. You're gonna probably sink like $50 into maybe discovering that it still sucks just as hard. But it's only 10 euros, so it'll probably be about $18 shipped, maybe 20. Okay. Yeah.
We'll see.
I don't know. It could. I think it'll probably be better than that version, but that just may not be saying a lot. I was truly amazed they had Bruce Dern in that fucking thing. But he did go on to win an Oscar after that, so, or get nominated for one. I can't recall, but yeah, maybe that's what cost it for him. You never know. But anyways, getting into the reviews, hopefully we won't have anything as bad as Toolbox Murders 2 tonight. I guess the first one we can tackle is At the Devil's Door, which is a new release from IFC Midnight, their horror label. And this one follows ambitious young real estate agent Lee, played by Catalina Sandino Marino, is asked to sell a house with a checkered past. She crosses paths with a disturbed girl whom she learns is the runaway daughter of the couple selling the property, as well as what seems to be the girl's long-since missing sister. When Lee tries to intervene and help them, she becomes entangled with a supernatural force that soon pulls Lee's artist sister Vera into its web and has sinister plans for all of them. This is actually from writer-director Nicholas McCarthy, who made a lot of noise with The Pact from about a year or so ago. That movie got a lot of great reviews. I know Melissa, when I did the old show, was actually a huge fan of that one. I thought it was good, not quite as good as she did. So I was interested in seeing this. he obviously had a good record of paranormal horror, and the film, it kind of recalled for me a lot of the satanic panic flicks that were really popular in the 70s, like Brotherhood of Satan, one of my personal favorites, and Devil's Reign, amongst several others. It's very atmospheric without always making sense, much like a lot of those films. I feel this one, though, was a little bit disjointed at times. I don't know that style works as well nowadays. The acting, I thought, was very so-so. It's not bad. I just didn't quite buy Catalina as a real estate agent, for example, and it kind of jumps around. It never really settles on a lead. It kind of focuses a little bit on each person, and it just felt like it never quite come together for me. It just really needed, I think, to settle on one story rather than just sort of jumping around. It does have very spooky atmosphere, much like a lot of these films used to have. There's some effective jump scares here and there. We get to see a non-white trash Tara Buck, who people will recognize from True Blood, which was really funny. And yeah, this is one of those ones. I don't know. I feel it's a quality film. I'm just a little indifferent towards it. But Todd, what did you think?
You nailed it pretty much right on the head. And I find this a lot with the IFC Midnight titles. They're beautifully made. They're good films, but they never make it past being a good film. I mean, how many of these have we watched? And they're all decent films. I mean, the only one that jumps off immediately to the top of my head is almost not even the horror one, and that's James Gunn's Super. It's the only one I'm like, IFC Midnight I absolutely love. But a lot of the horror ones are just kind of middle of the road. They're good, but do you remember the last IFC Midnight when we reviewed that we thought, was good, but I can't remember what it was. I can't remember. I'm not like, I have to watch that again.
You think maybe, though, it's more the ghost flicks? Because I could name some IFC ones that were fantastic. I think it's a very solid label. Well, actually, yeah, Todd, I have to correct you because you did like Witching and Bitching just recently.
Yes, that is true. That is another one I did really enjoy. Was that IFC Midnight or just IFC, though? No, it was Midnight.
That was IFC Midnight, yep.
Yes, it was. Okay. You're right.
Any of their horror ones.
Well, yeah, in general, I think there's a majority of them. Because you're right, there are a lot of the ghost ones are just kind of in the middle. But there's, we'll get to that a little later too. There are other genres that they just kind of put out that I think are kind of middle of the road. I think the majority is like that. Which you can say almost about any studio. There's going to be a lot of just in the middle stuff, but not as well shot, I think, as IFC. They definitely have they pick up quality stuff, and they don't
make crap.
Yeah, pretty much. That they don't. But the really good ones, I think, are few and far in between. And maybe they just put out a lot of stuff too.
Yeah, they put out a lot of stuff. I mean, I would throw out Red, White, and Blue, Sauna, Left Bank, In Their Skin, Mutants, as Nightmare, as some of their better titles. But really, like you said, they're never. I almost think in a weird sort of way you hit the nail on the head partially, but I think it's more some of the paranormal stuff. Because I'm looking, I have a lot that I really truly like. It's not the ghost stuff, and that might be more of a genre thing. I don't know. It's an interesting point though, because they have had several ghost flicks like this that were just well made but forgettable.
Yeah. Well, I guess I didn't really have much to add on this one. I mean, I just thought it was okay. I mean, atmospherically it was great. It was a little disjointed, as you mentioned. I'm glad I picked it up for $10, but I don't know the next time I'm going to give it a spin.
Yeah, I'm pretty much right with you. It's one of those ones. I just felt like more or less I've seen it before. But if you're really into the ghost stuff, which I'm not really for the most part, at least I don't get really worked up by it. This is probably one you're really truly horrified by this stuff. There's plenty of moments that will probably make you jump the fuck out of your chair, but there's too many others that I can recommend. Grave Encounters, that I think just did a better job. There's no reason for you, I think, to have to track this one down. It is on Blu Ray and DVD, should you choose to. And I did enjoy the creepy little small part by Michael Massey of The Crow and Evan, a very underrated actor in our genre. But for me, this one gets a 2.5. That might seem like a bit of a harsh rating for it, but I just can't think of like a reason to tell you that you have to go see it. It's definitely worth a rental, I think, if you're or a Redbox, whatever, if you are a ghost aficionado.
I'm a little bit, you're not far off. I give it a 3. I don't think it's just middle of the road. I think it's a little bit better than that. But I would definitely still recommend, Redboxing it, Netflixing it, waiting for, I've seen Midnight Storm tend to pop up on Netflix streaming pretty quick. So if you have that, you might want to, check it out that way first. Yeah,
I would say so. I don't know. Maybe I'm being hard on that one, but I just watched it and I'm just like, God, I don't know. I'm not that engaged. I think the biggest thing might have been just the lead actors just didn't draw me in like maybe they could have. But yes, that's At the Devil's Door. Our next film, I guess we've done a new. We might as well tackle an old, kind of split it up a little bit. And our next release is actually from Code Red, and it is the Eerie Midnight Horror Show, which is a film from what?
We're supposed to do that next week.
Really?
Yes, we're supposed to do To All A Goodnight.
Oh, okay. Well, I screwed that up. Like I said, Todd just got back into town, so
yes, we've been splitting up our duties. Did that even go in the description and I just overlooked it?
Yeah, it did, but
okay.
Yeah, it did.
Then just go for a solo.
You want me to do a solo? Or?
Yeah, that's fine. I didn't know. I probably should have read our advertising. Again, we've been off for a month, holiday season. All right, I just wanted to make sure we weren't jumping the gun. No, absolutely, go for it.
It's New Year's, guys. We've been smoking a lot of crack, drinking a lot of booze. We just, we aren't as in sync, so we apologize. But here you go. You'll get my opinion, and you can get Todd's next week. So there you go. Eerie Midnight Horror Show is a film from 1974, actually, which I found interesting. It says 1981 on the.
I hate to interrupt you again. I don't know. I'm just having. I had like 5 hours sleep, so I'm sort of. I'm thinking of Death Row Game Show, which I think we're doing next week. We are doing it. Right, this is live, sorry guys. So you were dead on. So listen to me after we do. Oh my gosh, I feel really I'm going flack asleep and too much partying.
That you get a pass. It's New Year's. Like I said, we all had a wild night. So, but either way, I'm sure I can handle telling people about the debauchery in this little flick. It's actually a 1974 film from director Mario Gariazzo, and this film originally titled The Sexorcist, among many, many other titles. And this is Code Red always has these really funny descriptions, but this is an incomprehensible muddle of devil possession, horror, and lots of kinky softcore sex. The story revolves around a weird religious icon depicting one of the two thieves crucified with Christ and the demonic sexual influence it exerts on a young art student played by Stella Carnacina. After a gory dream sequence in which the woman imagines herself being nailed to a cross, the statue eventually comes to life and begins to sexually torment her, whereupon the entire film careens off track into exorcist territory, where it slogs for an uninvolving and unoriginal final hour. All-star Italian cast featuring Chris Abram, the sexy Lucretia Love, Studley, Gabrielle Tinti, funny man Ivan Rassimov, and big-time studio actor Luigi Pistilli, who looks confused as to why he did this movie. That is, of course, you got to love Bill Olsen's descriptions of these movies. I mean, he's all but saying, this is a piece of shit, why are you buying it? So that isn't me adding my commentary.
And his banana costume on the back cover is starting to look like a yellow rubber.
Yes. Yes, you can also watch this film in bucket list mode. You get to witness Katerina, who's starting to look old. She's looking a lot older these days. She's, of course, we're a big fan of her from her wrestling days. But, yeah, you get to see Bill do his little skit as the banana, and that's pretty much it for special features. Katerina kind of names some of the actors, but yes, this is a film. I want to say Alpha, I believe, had the really shitty DVD out that you can now throw away. This is listed as the Grindhouse print, I believe that he had it listed as. And to be perfectly honest, it looks good. I mean, it looks, once again, as good as you could really expect this film to look. And, getting to see it kind of in its proper version is nice. Because, like I said, this film has been out as The Sexorcist, Enter the Devil, Devil Obsession, and I believe Tormented at one point. It's, once again, apparently based on a true story, which I always find funny. And it finally settled on this title, which was always an unusual title, and it was quite simply just a shameless attempt to make money off of the Rocky Horror Picture Show. That's why it was down. And, I think a lot of people, I know I was confused when I saw it for the first time way back, because, like I said, it's kind of a borderline softcore satanic possession flick, and I really enjoyed this at the beginning. It does start to drag. You got this wonderfully sleazy opening with the guy whipping kind of the gratuitous pre-American Beauty rose petal kink play where he's whipping the girl's boobs bloody with these roses, and you've got the chick getting raped by a statue that was particularly creepy and sleazy. And yeah, I think it's actually a really good cult flick. I enjoyed it quite a bit, warts and all. I definitely think if you're a fan of 70s Euro horror that this is worth picking up. It's not a great film. I don't think anybody would really expect it to be, but it is fun. It is definitely different. And like I said, if you're an aficionado of these types of films from that time, you probably accept that there's some issues here and there. Like I said, I wish they could have kept up the delirious craziness of the first section of the film. It does drag towards the end, but yeah, Todd, I don't know. Do you have anything to add on this from your memory whenever you saw it last time?
No. I did watch it. I did revisit it with the Blu Ray. I was thinking of Death Row Game, so that was Yes, that was me off. Yeah. Again,
okay,
I'm
well,
blaming it on.
so.
Yes, I did. I did revisit it, and I do agree with what you said. And real quick about the transfer, I want to throw that out. As Dan mentioned, it is the Grindhouse transfer, and it's a little rough. Just, I mean, at the beginning, I mean, like, you know, most old prints from that era. But it clears up nice, and it's, you know, pretty solid. There's just, you know, a few scratches here and there, but nothing too distracting. And with films like this, you know, a lot of times it gives you that, you know, feeling character of that era, which I don't mind with stuff like this. I know some people do, but it's not, you know, anything really distracting once you're out of the first, you know, few minutes of print damage or scratched up print. I mean, I agree, which was funny because I was trying to explain to my wife she's like, oh, how was your movie? And I explained, oh yeah, it's a possession movie about a statue comes to life, you know, rapes a demon into her. And she was just looking at me like, okay.
Your wife's not a huge horror fan?
She can do some. She doesn't like the. Oh, jeez. She not as well. Yeah, not compared to us. She doesn't like the
More
stuff that can actually.
humor.
Yeah, well, she'll do weird, but she can't do stuff that can actually happen. Like, she'll never watch Devil's Rejects, Chaos, Last House, not any of the rapey stuff or the stuff I really enjoy. But
our resident rape guy.
Yeah. If it can happen in real life, she's not a fan of that. Like, some more fantasy type horror. I mean, you know, Nightmare on Elm Street is fine. I mean, you know, there's tons of stuff in that genre. I mean, you know, could happen in real life. Like Tusk would be fine. Although that could happen in real life, so maybe that's a borderline one, but we'll get into that later. But yeah, I don't know. I don't even know how to rate this because I love the film. I mean, it does drag at the end. That's the one thing that always throws me off in this. You know, especially with the older, especially with these weird older ones. I know we love, but are definitely not everybody's cup of tea. And it is,
I
you know,
review these based on the fact that if you like this type of movie,
yeah,
that's kind of how I do my ratings. So if the ratings are higher than they should be, we're assuming you're into these Euro, you know, old Euro horror classics or not so much classics.
Yeah. No, I agree, and I do like this one, although it's hard on this one because it is that first, I'm going to say 40 minutes. No, not even that long. I think it's the first 30 minutes of craziness, and we kind of calm down. See, this one, even still, I mean, I wrote down 3, and I was kind of going back and forth, you know. But I think I have to stick with movie-wise, it's a 3. I think the transfer's solid, though, so. And I definitely think I do not regret the $30, you know, paid for it. I don't know. What do you think, rating wise?
No, you're right where I was at. I give this one a 3. If you are, again, a fan of this era of film, I definitely think you should pick this one up. I think the crazy, wild beginning, whatever, I don't know, 30, 40 minutes, whatever it was, really kind of made it work. And, you know, if they could have kept that up maybe a little bit longer, it may have even been a classic. But, you know, you've got some great-looking Euro babes, a lot of sleaze, some gore. What else could you really want? And this is definitely a film that has never really been available, you know, in a proper form. I remember the DVD that I had being particularly weak, and I could be wrong, but I want to say it was Alpha.
It was Alpha or Diamond. Hell, it could have been both in that era.
Yeah. So it's definitely one of those flicks. It's going to be limited. It's going to be out of print, and the only other way you're going to get it is through a shitty version. So I would recommend you pick this one up if you enjoy these films.
I would agree. And on that note, I think we are going to take a little break, and we'll leave you with a song. And we picked one out tonight. I think that seems appropriate, and I guess we'll just go ahead and give it a play, and we'll be back in just under 5 minutes.
And we are back. Todd, you with us?
I am here.
Well, we are. Well, that one was. That one doesn't really need any introduction. Obviously, that is in honor of Edward Herman, who passed away, and making me feel a bit nostalgic. Maybe I'll sit down and watch Lost Boys after we're done tonight. But yeah. Moving on with our show, our next film is called Cam to Cam, also from IFC Midnight, so makes sense. This one is from director Joel Sasson and follows a young American woman who is visiting Bangkok and becomes involved with a group of people who perform on an interactive website called Cam to Cam that is run by the mysterious and sexy group leader Merit. And needless to say, there's much more sinister things going on than just performing sex acts on camera. So yes, Todd, what did you think about this one? You made the IFC comparison. Did this one do it for you?
Which is also part of the reason I did make that comparison earlier, and I was kind of holding back a little bit on it because this is not a ghost film. This is definitely not a ghost film. I guess, it's a modern slasher. Concept-wise, I really liked it. Artwork-wise, I really liked it too. But I liked it. I think it was just missing something. I don't know if it needed to be a little bit more brutal, or I liked the concept, and I don't know. I felt like it was missing something. Something there didn't click. Another one, I liked the way. I mean, not necessarily beautifully shot in the same way, the other one would be, but it definitely had a good look to it. It was just something didn't click for me, and I wanted it to. This is one that I actually been really looking forward to, because I know as soon as I was like, okay, we got to review this one. As soon as we knew it was coming out. And I don't know if they just have a really good trailer editor who picks out the best stuff, because every trailer and every IFC Midnight release, I'm like, oh, I want to see that, everything. It's always the same. And then, I see a lot of them, and I'm just like, it's good, but although I can definitely see this one growing on me over time, whereas I don't know about the other one. I mean, I kind of would revisit this one just to see if I missed something the first time.
I can kind of see what you might be saying. I have to say I wasn't too enthusiastic about this one. It is different from this director because, of course, Joel Sasson, you probably recognize the name, has been a writer on several big films, including Trick or Treat, The Supernaturals, Dracula 2000, and the sequels, Prophecy 3, Mimic 2, Hollow Man 2, Hellraiser, Hellworld, and, of course, Todd, the best written film of all time, Piranha 3 Double D. So this guy has a big history with the genre. This is definitely different than anything I've seen him do. He's also a director, of course. I don't know. This one didn't quite work for me. It got off to a good start. I should actually point out it's not as kinky as perhaps it might appear to be, but it does have some good suspense at the beginning. I liked this one. I was more entertained by this one than At the Devil's Door. I don't necessarily think it's a better movie, but I was more entertained by it. It's got beautiful scenery, well shot. Again, this is always the case with IFC. You've got the pervy landlord, who I thought was particularly creepy. The actor that played Russell. It manages some decent suspense, but just never fully brings it home. For me, anyways. I don't quite know who exactly to recommend it to, but for me. It was entertaining. There were a few interesting little twists here and there, and I guess I would kind of classify this as a sort of suspense thriller. I mean, I don't know that you're going to be satisfied with the slasher elements, but there are a few brutal scenes here and there, some off-camera stuff. But yeah, I don't know what else to say about this one except that I would not go out and just buy it. I don't necessarily feel like you that I need to watch it again, but it entertained me. It was worth a rental, and yeah. I mean, what do you give this one, Todd?
See, it's funny because I'm on the same as At the Devil's Door, but for different reasons. I'm right there at 3 because I did enjoy it, and I didn't, if it didn't come off that way, I did like you. I enjoyed the time I was watching it. I just expected a little bit more, and something just didn't click. I think. I mean, I liked the concept and stuff, so I'm just kind of at a 3. But
I feel it could have been higher, more weirdness, more brutality. I don't know, maybe more sex, and it could have gotten a little more enjoyment. I guess that's always the case.
Well, they're definitely, using sex to market it with ass shot on the cover. I mean,
yes.
Come on.
You even get a. I'm right with you on this one. It's 3. It's just one of those ones that could have been much more. And I don't know. I wasn't as enthusiastic about the ending. I think there's more interesting ways they could have gotten to that. I won't, give spoilers, obviously, but yeah, this is another one. I just got to say, rent it. I don't feel anybody's going to really feel that they need to own this one. So yeah, that's Cam to Cam. Moving on. I guess we can do stick with the theme and I guess do an older film that we were going to review tonight, and that is To All A Goodnight. Kind of a somewhat, I don't know if I want to say forgotten slasher flick from the golden age, but not one that's necessarily talked about very often beyond the fact that David Hess directed. And To All A Goodnight follows 5 young female boarders at the Calvin Finishing School who have set their sights on a festive Christmas holiday romp. They have just drugged their house mother and smuggled their boyfriends into the house, but their fun-filled, promiscuous frolic will soon turn into a blood-soaked nightmare when a sadistic maniac dressed as Santa Claus arrives to deliver some holiday cheer. Or maybe that's fear. The insane Santa Claus starts slashing his way through the house, and the gory body count begins. So you better watch out, as this Santa knows whether you've been bad or good. So be good for goodness sake. So yeah, this is one I was revisiting for the first time in forever. Much like a lot of recent slasher flicks, Final Exam, just one off the top of my head, Curtains. Strangely enough, as flawed as this film was, I did enjoy it more than at least those 2 films personally, revisiting it. It's from 1980, obviously. Those few years there, shit was really, really good in the genre. It was about as hot as you could get. This film was shot for $70,000 in 10 days, and it kind of shows. There's some editing issues here. A lot of stuff you can pick at. Most slasher flicks of the time, I mean, let's be honest, you can. But I enjoyed it. It's fairly sleazy. It's fun. You enjoy it for its flaws. There were a couple cool kills. This is one I was actually a little gorier than I remembered it being. I kind of thought this was going to be a more bloodless slasher like Final Exam was. I don't know why in my head I thought that, but there are a few kills here. It's not overly brutal. But you get plenty of nudity, and Harry Reams porn star legend shows up in a random cameo. So
yes.
You can't go wrong. I was entertained by it. I don't know, Todd, did this one, I don't know if this is one you watch often or if this was the first time you watched it in a while. Did it live up to your expectations or memory?
It did. It's probably only been about 6 years since I popped it in on the old tape. And it is nice because now, we have a beautiful Blu Ray, and it's basically been out of circulation since the VHS days. I mean, unless you were looking in the right places or found a transferred copy from VHS. Yes, it has held up. And it wouldn't be, I can't say directed by, but a movie with David Hess if you don't have some kind of porn guy in there or something. But, yeah, I definitely agree with you. I don't have as much, time in between viewings as you, but I do think this one's held up a lot better than, say, Final Exams and Curtains. And I want to say that this is actually the first film with the Killer Santa. Because Billy is Black Christmas. I know it's often cited as that, and I know it's also been speculated that this film was shot a little bit earlier than the 1980 release date. Which, yeah, that's all tried to ask Mr. Hess now that he's passed. Although there are quite a few surviving actresses. Yeah, Jennifer Runyon, who actually looks damn good, I think, for 35 years later. They have an interview with her. The older actress whose name escapes me, kind of maybe a little bit too much plastic surgery for her, but Jennifer Runyon looks pretty good. And yeah, I think if you're a slasher aficionado, this is definitely worth picking up. As Todd said, you haven't seen it in probably a while in a decent version. I had a bootleg at one point that didn't look very good at all, and now you can see it. You can see a proper cut. There's a lot of cool kills. You had the decapitation while they were having sex, and they addressed some of the editing issues and the rushed production in some of the interviews. But overall, I mean, it really wasn't as bad as I was kind of maybe expecting this one to be. I remember it being one that I liked back in the day, but I wasn't sure that it would live up. And not a classic, probably not going to be anybody's favorite slasher or probably even favorite Christmas-themed horror flick, but I think Scorpion has done a good job on this one, and I'm very glad I picked it up. And David Hess, I should actually throw out there, I had the pleasure of, I want to say, one of his last convention appearances. It probably was his last before he had passed away. Super nice guy. I mean, I was able to go to this little tribute they did for him at Chiller, and they asked nobody to film it, and I don't think anybody did because I've never seen it pop up online, but it was just so moving. His son was there. I remember talking to him briefly about this flick. He didn't really say a whole lot. I don't know quite what he thinks about this one, but he was just a great guy, and it was just a pleasure getting to meet him. And yeah, and now you can see his only directorial effort. For the limitations, I'd say he did a pretty good job with this. So as a movie, I agree. Yeah, as a movie, these are hard to review again, but I give this one 3 stars. I'd say it's above average for the time, and it entertained me. What else can I ask for? It's not overly scary, but it definitely entertained me. And it delivers what you'd expect from a slasher flick at the time. Yeah, and I actually given it a 3.5, and the disc is solid. You get some good interviews. I definitely recommend picking it up. But I do. That's the one thing about this one. It's got some stiff competition for the Christmas, horror films. There's some pretty damn good ones. And I tend to just stick to that very small niche genre that time of year. And I know it's gotten forgotten quite a few years, and I'm hoping that ends now. That it'll get the recognition it deserves.
Yeah, there've been a few like Final Exam that I might have been okay if they had stayed buried, but I'm glad they resurrected this one. So yeah, that's To All A Goodnight. And Todd, I believe you have a solo for the new After Dark horror flick, Sanotorium.
I do. And, well, as Dan put out, we have up next, 2014, I guess we could say the year on this one, After Dark Originals presents their latest, Sanotorium. On the New Year's Eve in 1955, Richard Howell, a patient in the Hillcrest Sanatorium, went on a bloody rampage, killing 3 children before he hanged himself. 56 years later, a team of ghost hunters from the popular television series Ghost Trackers prepare to spend the night at the sanatorium. They hope to capture paranormal activity for the entertainment of their show's fans. Instead, they unleash a horrifying force of evil hell-bent on their destruction. Okay, from that description, it should tell you right away what you're getting, and it pretty much does give you, that. It does sound mighty familiar to Ghost Encounters, but if you haven't seen that, this with this one, I don't even know. There was nothing new to see in it. We've seen it all before, twice at least. It was very, very average. Again, well shot. I mean, After Dark stuff normally looks good also, kind of like the IFC Midnight stuff. Although the later After Dark track record tends to be pretty subpar, I'd say.
Mixed bag, yeah.
Yeah. But, yeah, it starts off, I mean, you get the setup like pretty much like the description says. You have the ghost scene going up. There's a creepy old caretaker who's very particular about letting them in and stuff. And then you get the typical walking around the empty sanatorium, abandoned hospital, whatever, stuff, and see little stuff out of the corner of your eyes, jump scares here and there. I don't have, it's average. I know with something like this, it's a ghost film, but we've honestly been very good lately on a lot of the ghosts, and there's been a lot of good ones doing different things. And with this one, it's not anything different or nothing new. Although I did, find some of the characters likable, which is a plus, because if you don't have that, you're just in for a long... Yeah, pretty much. If you like the After Dark stuff and you want to see everything they, have, I'm going to say, who's going to stop you? But I'm just giving this a 2. So grab it on Netflix if you got to see it, but I definitely say try before you buy on this one. And I don't say that often.
Yeah. It's it's really weird because the After Dark stuff is usually always, I mean, it has great distribution for the most part. I don't think there's ever been a title from them that I haven't been able to buy at Walmart, and it's not in Walmart. I didn't even see it in Best Buy, which was a bit strange. So yeah, I don't know. I haven't heard anybody really talking about it. So yeah, sounds like you might want to wait.
It came out on a weird week. I think, it's, in the middle of the shopping season.
Yeah,
I don't know.
It's a rough time for releases, kind of right before and right after Christmas.
Yeah, I know Tusk could get away with it because, Kevin Smith definitely has a cult following, so...
Yeah, that was the only notable one that I think came out this past Tuesday, because I was in Walmart and I'm like, shit, there's nothing.
Yeah.
But And Tusk is going to be a very interesting review, so definitely stay tuned for that. And before I get into my solo, I just wanted to do a special shout-out for a listener, Sasha Moen, also known as Sasha, the Princess of Darkness. She's a horror hostess who is trying to win a photo contest, so please vote for her. I know she's an avid listener for us, and she's actually got her own podcast, I think, that she's starting up here soon, and you can find out all about that and vote for her at facebook.com/Sasha, the Princess of Darkness. And definitely look for the link. It's there. You can click on it and vote and support another horror podcaster who definitely deserves a win on this. So yes, Sasha, if you're listening, I hope you win your contest, and we definitely appreciate you listening for all these years now. And yes, with that being said, I guess I'll move on to my solo, which I know is a very anticipated movie for some people, particularly for fans of the early days of shot-on-video horror. And I was pretty excited when this came out. It's called High 8, Horror Independent 8, and it's a series of 8 stories, including a wraparound segment from some of the legends, I guess I can say, of that time, including Todd Sheets, Marcus Koch, Tim Ritter, Ron Bonk, some newer ones, of course, like Chris Seaver, Tony Masiello, who makes his debut here, not so new ones, Donald Farmer and Brad Sykes, of course. So it's mostly a collection of older guys who were in the 80s and 90s. Some of them remained fairly active. Brad Sykes has done a lot of stuff, but it was kind of a reunion of sorts. So I found it really interesting. I mean, it's a funny period in our genre because, truth be told, most of them are pretty bad, but yet at the same time, I'm kind of drawn to them. Todd Sheets, honestly, I don't know that guy ever made a good movie, but I still fondly remember when zombies were dead. I mean, no pun intended. I mean, people just were not making zombie movies, and I remember just kind of getting into the internet and seeing, holy shit, somebody made something called Zombie Bloodbath. And, I remembered freaking out. I think I spent a lot of money on that tape for some reason, and being severely pissed off when I actually saw the movie. But at the same time, hey, say what you will, it was somebody making a zombie flick at the time. So I was very excited to see his return. And the basic rules for this film that they had laid out for the filmmakers was that they could use no modern technology that they didn't have back then. No green screen, no HD cameras, and no CG allowed. And they stuck to it. There's none of that to be found. It's all very authentic for the most part, and feels almost like it could have been made around that time. Like most, anthology type stories, it's a bit of a mixed bag. I don't know that there was one single story that truly blew me away, but at the same time, I can say there really wasn't anything that was bad. So that says something. The wraparound wasn't anything special, but the stories themselves worked for me. The first one from Tim Ritter, Switchblade Insane, is kind of about this wife who's narrating about her relationship with this serial killer who she's following. It's her husband, and she's essentially narrating about how she makes it work with a serial killer. I actually thought this was one of the better stories. Tim Ritter, a lot of people will remember him from Killing Spree, amongst some other titles from that time. It's a pretty sleazy little short, some decent gore, had a decent twist, and I thought that one was amongst the better stories. The second story, Very Bad Situation by Marcus Koch, who is probably one guy that has done some really great work, particularly in the special effects realm. He's done some excellent stuff and is arguably the best filmmaker out of the group. I think I can probably personally say that. His particular story, it's a very typical Night of the Living Dead Romero-style setup with this group held up with tensions sort of arising during this meteor storm. Not much to say about this one in terms of story. It really goes by pretty quick, and it's essentially one setup for a cool little gore moment that I thought was particularly cool, as you might expect for him. So that's really all there is to it, but cool gore segment in that one. The third one, The Tape by Tony Masiello, the newcomer, probably the coolest story. It's actually about a video store that's closing down. It takes place in the present, and it's one of the last sort of mom-and-pop video shops that's closing down. There's a lot of funny dialogue in here about outlasting. I can't remember how they put it, but the bastards at Blockbuster and Hollywood Video. This is an easy one for anybody that grew up on mom-and-pop video shops to like. And it kind of follows this guy who discovers this lost SOV horror flick called Bloodgasm, which there's some movie within a movie stuff that's absolutely ridiculous. It's just this guy, I think, pulling apart chicken breasts. I mean, it's really ridiculous, but I love this one. This really got me into the spirit that I think they were trying to go for, and I enjoyed that one. The fourth story, Gangnam Style by Ron Bonk, is essentially a parody of John Carpenter flicks and follows this character R.J. Mongoose McCready, who's kind of doing the Snake Plissken thing and trying to save his grandma and other old folks during the zombie apocalypse. Kind of a Cockneys versus zombies sort of scenario. This one was pretty funny. Kind of a couple cool references, some decent gore. Nothing special, but I kind of liked the idea of it. The fifth story, Genre Bending, is from Chris Seaver. If you're aware of Chris Seaver's work, he's kind of a love it or hate it kind of guy. Very kind of raunchy toilet humor, and this is very much like what he normally does. But I thought it was pretty clever. It's kind of about this killer that's stalking this woman and doing a lot of pervy things, but there's obviously some twists. You'll recognize some cast from Seaver's old Tempe releases, and a couple laughs. Like I said, you're into Seaver or you're not. The sixth story, The Request from Todd Sheets, which word was this was actually one of the best ones. I can't say I agree, actually. It's about this DJ who receives a call from an ex-lover who has died. Nothing too clever there that I haven't kind of seen before, but nothing bad either. The seventh story, Thicker Than Water by Donald Farmer, follows this jealous girlfriend who kind of is very obsessive over her boyfriend and ex-girlfriends. Again, nothing too special here. A couple okay gore moments, but I've kind of before. And the eighth story, The Scout, which I believe was from Brad Sykes, was a pretty cool little psychological, more serious one, not necessarily something I would think I would have seen back at that time, where this couple is going to shoot some scenes in this old abandoned, I don't know, gas station or something in the desert, and it's kind of a little bit more psychological. Pretty solid little short with a good twist, and yeah, I guess I covered them all for you there. Nothing particularly bad, nothing that really blew me away, but at the same time, hey, it's better than VHS 2 or VHS 3. I wouldn't say it's as good as ABC's of Death 2, which I actually kind of liked a lot. But if you're a fan of these old things, I definitely think this is worth picking up. And I give it 3 stars. I enjoyed it. I kind of hope they'll do a high 8 too. Who knows? With some of the same guys. So yeah, that's high 8. And Todd, I guess we're moving on to the main event of the evening, which is Tusk. Or did I miss anything else?
No,
I believe we got everything.
Just in time too.
Yeah.
We got a half hour on this one, so we'll probably use every moment of that.
Yeah, I think this is definitely the one that I don't think a lot of the reviews tonight warranted a lot of discussion. This one just might. And I'm going to let you go first because I'm so curious to see what you thought of this one. But first, the synopsis, and this is, of course, from Kevin Smith of Clerks fame, and this is from the back cover, a wickedly funny modern-day monster movie that will hold you in terror as it keeps you in stitches. A podcaster played by Justin Long looking for a juicy story is plunged into a blood-curdling nightmare after he travels to the backwoods of Canada and meets an eccentric recluse played by Michael Parks with a lifetime of adventures and a disturbing fondness for walruses. So, Todd, have at it. I've got a lot to say about this one, but I'm curious what you think.
All right, I figure we'll probably be bouncing back and forth on this one. And I'm going to throw a little disclaimer out, and I think this applies to you. At least some of it's going to apply to you, too. While I'm a fan of or other than Red State, of the entire, View universe, I am not one who follows the podcasts and, because there's quite a few that I know Kevin Smith does and different ones. And although I do know the origin of this, the feature was done over a podcast and then, that came to life through the podcast. So I'm pretty much, I purposely went into this without, because I know that they do have that actual podcast on the Blu Ray. I went in without, having any of that knowledge. So it was just going in, watching Kevin Smith movie, open, just without anything, already known about the plot. So, and I'm pretty, and Dan, you're in the same boat with that?
Yeah, no, I've never really listened to his podcast, but I am a Kevin Smith fan in general.
Yes. Okay, so we are on the same page. I thought so. So with that said, I did hear wind of the plot and stuff. Yeah, I don't know. It's hard to even pick a jumping off point. Basically, are we just going to go spoilers on this, or should we give warnings? I don't know how far.
Well, I know what you're talking about, and I feel since it basically happens near the beginning of the movie that the one spoiler is okay. If you're super, super picky, you can tune out now, but this is almost part of the rant that we need to talk about. This happens, Todd, in the first 15 minutes or so, or 20 minutes or something like that, but it's so much to do with, I think, the rant. I'm going to say it's okay. If you're picky, click out and listen to the rest of this after you've seen the film, but it happens early, and I don't think it'll spoil anything. So, Yes, have at it, Todd.
Okay. Well, we're thinking of the same thing. Well, basically the fact that he becomes a walrus so damn quick.
Yeah.
To the point that I actually was like, did I look away and miss something? Did I hit this capture button? I thought I had skipped because it happened so quick. I don't think it's 15 minutes. I want to say it's close to half hour in maybe. I don't know.
Okay.
But I was just like, yeah. And I know you had mentioned we're kind of at a no going back point. There's no, are they going to get to him in time? Because pretty much he lost a leg at that point, and then he's a walrus. Which I don't think really bothered me, because it's not like that turn in Red State where I just totally it totally lost me. I didn't really care anymore. Whereas this one was marketed as a horror film. It definitely lives in our kind of weird, quirky horror world. Whereas Red State, we got 10 minutes of a horror film, and I love that opening setup in that one. And then it's a different movie.
Yeah.
And that one was marketed to us horror fans, and I think other than that first 10 minutes on that one, it wasn't. This one, I definitely think lives in our world. I have no issue with it as a horror film. I mean, it's about somebody getting turned into a monster is what is prophesized by our lead detective, I guess, or Ahab. I don't know. I don't know how far we want to get. Do you want to jump in on this point before we kind of move around?
Yeah, because there is a lot to jump into. I mean, Red State, I liked. It was a decent movie.
Yeah.
I was expecting a little bit more because the premise was potentially fantastic. Much like I think this film, I think Michael Parks was the best part of that film. Tusk. Okay, first off, as a horror film, is this scary? No. And that is probably due to the fact that Justin Long isn't particularly likable. I never felt sorry for him, and I feel maybe at times you were supposed to, in a weird sort of way. I mean, it's definitely a dark, wacky comedy, but I feel some of those moments... Mm-hmm.
I have to say one thing. Jeepers Creepers.
Mm-hmm.
I think that was before he was the Justin Long now. I cared about that character in Jeepers Creepers.
Yeah, I
did. And that was really his last horror film. I think it's just because he became, what is it, the Dale guy, PC guy, whatever. And then all his comedy movies, it kind of... He's one of those guys you see. It's Justin Long now.
Yeah,
it's hard to go.
True. I mean, I've liked some of his work. This is a very complicated review because it's going to seem like maybe I like it, maybe I didn't like it. Yeah. So it's going to be confusing. Overall, I did like it, but there are moments where I feel like they're going for real horror. As crazy as it is, even when Johnny Depp shows up and it feels like you're watching some sort of, I don't know, perverted Pink Panther type. I don't know what the hell he was going for. But there are moments where I feel, particularly like the very end, really, that they were trying to be somewhat serious amidst the ridiculous nature of it. So as a horror flick, they can never really get much suspense going because he's fucked after about 20 minutes or so, and it's an hour and 44-minute movie too, so it's a little bit longer than your standard horror flick, and it's like, okay, he's done for. He fucked. There are some the scene where Michael Parks at one point actually dons a walrus suit and decides to have a battle with Justin Long. I mean, that was just like, holy fucking shit. This is like the ultimate cult movie, I think. But I mean, I guess it fails somewhat as a horror movie, but as a cult movie, I think it's probably a must-see. I think this is one that really could be something that people do really revisit, and especially seeing that Kevin Smith directs it, I think that'll give it a little bit more attention. If you don't like weird-ass fucking movies, then obviously you're not going to want to check this one out. It's probably another thing, if you're used to Clerks and whatnot, and expect, just the typical Jay and Silent Bob stuff. I don't know quite how you'll react to this one. It's hard to say. It's definitely not Jay and Silent Bob. I will say more disturbing than anything in this film, and I have to think it might have been somewhat intentional. Haley Joel Osment, that kid, I swear to God, it's like his Sixth Sense. Mm-hmm.
No, I thought you were going to say Justin Long's mustache, but...
Yeah, Justin Long's mustache, there is that, but I'm sorry. Haley Joel's laugh is more disturbing than anything I saw in a Serbian film. That dude, it's literally like his face has not changed. It's like he's grown around his face. I literally stared into the abyss, and that fucker stared back at me laughing. There's something with his face. His eyes are so close together. It's like that old Family Guy sketch. It's just, I don't know what it is. That was more disturbing to me than Justin Long being turned into a walrus. But yeah, I mean, it is a cult film that there's never been anything like it that I can think of. I mean, Todd, you ever seen anything that you can compare this to?
No, I can. That's a plus for it. I mean, I do think it's gonna have some legs under it just because of it is so different and weird that I think even the non Kevin Smith fan can watch it for its weirdness. I mean, there's been other stuff that's probably been as weird, but not in the same way.
Yeah, I kind of see what you're saying. I almost felt it should have embraced the weirdness and comedy aspects a little bit more, particularly the ending. I didn't care for the ending. Beyond the cup, I don't know if you noticed the running gag with the cup being there, the closing scene. But I was watching it and I was thinking, I would have rathered something just off the wall, I don't know, like he comes back and does the podcast with them or something. I don't know. I would have done something a little bit more ridiculous. It felt like an actual horror ending, and it never really succeeded as a horror film. I don't know.
I think from what I know, and they do play some of the podcasts during the end credits, I think they were just trying to stick as close to their original brainstorming on the podcast as they could. And when they do at the very end of the credits and they're discussing how it's the stuff, the beats of how it's going, it's beat for beat what they're saying. The walrus fight, killing him, going full walrus, then some other stuff, and then stuff at the end. It's all just laid out in the podcast.
Yeah, I didn't get a chance to look at special features, which I plan to for this movie, because, it's definitely one I'd like to kind of see more about how this came to be.
Yeah, and I think it was good we purposely did not do that before this, because it gives us a different perspective than someone who heard the genesis of it happening on, the podcast. And then, went into the movie knowing exactly what they were seeing, because we went in not that way. We went in we're going to see what's going on. And we got something completely different, and I did enjoy it. I mean, I didn't know what I was getting. And there was a few things that I was kind of like, we didn't get a bunch of random cameos, which I thought was nice, too.
Yes, Joseph. Or no, wait. I'm on the interview. Never mind. But yeah, you did get some interesting cameos, and like I said, Johnny Depp. I was just like, how the fuck did Kevin Smith I guess it kind of makes sense, truthfully, for Johnny Depp, but yeah, it's one. I mean, you have to see it. I guess I'll just have to leave it at that. You have to see it. You have to see for yourself where you fall into this thing. I enjoyed it. I would have done certain things differently. I don't think it necessarily the horror elements where I think they were trying to be at least somewhat serious. Obviously, it's not a serious movie. Didn't quite work. I would have done a different ending. I might have milked the transformation a little bit longer because I thought Justin Long was actually very funny. I mean, Michael Parks is great, and I would have liked to have seen more dialogue and interaction between the two, which, of course, Kevin Smith certainly writes very clever, funny dialogue. And I guess that's my only big complaint with it. They could have waited a little bit longer.
They could have kept the tongue a little longer. Although I will say I had a huge belly laugh in one of Johnny Depp's lines, and that was around the station. They were calling him the killer who they couldn't find. They were calling him the first wife because the killer wouldn't, or the guy who was capturing him wouldn't let him talk, wouldn't let him go out, and didn't fuck him. I was dying off that.
Yeah, Johnny Depp was certainly very funny in his role,
and you could tell he was definitely getting. It's not something he gets to do in most of his big budget Hollywood films. He gets to do real character work and just be a fucking nut for half a movie.
Yeah. Johnny Depp's always been one of those guys. I mean, of course, he's not young anymore, but I could almost see, like, at some point if his career just kind of dies a little bit, I can just see doing really bizarre little indie films. Maybe at some point if he decides he doesn't really need to worry about making $20 million for Pirates of the Caribbean, he can go and do more flicks like this. I don't know. I guess we'll see.
I want to see a Crispin Glover Johnny Depp film.
Yeah, yes, that would be, I don't know, playing Siamese twins or something. I don't know what setup they might do for that, but I don't know, maybe we can make a man with two heads.
I was thinking, okay, that's actually a better one. I was thinking of that horrible Family Brothers movie, the Matt Damon and Greg Kinnear.
The one Matt Damon wants to forget.
Yes.
But, yeah, well, I mean, I guess we're at that point where we might as well rate this one. It is, without a doubt, original, and I always award originality. It's one of a kind. You may or may not like this one. I mean, what can I say about it? Obviously, it's about a guy getting turned into a fucking walrus. And I got to give it 4 out of 5 stars. I mean, it even some of the things that I thought didn't work, nonetheless, I was never bored. I was always engaged, and it's just one you're going to have to see and decide for yourself.
See, I wouldn't even go that far for me. I mean, I'm giving it a 4 rating for sure, but I don't know if it's that it didn't work. It's that it would be stuff I would do differently, I think, for me.
Yeah, that's true. Maybe that's a better way to put it, but I just sense that on some level, and I could be totally off base, this might have been very deliberate by Kevin Smith, but I thought, as ridiculous as it was, that there were supposed to be some moments of genuine horror, and like I said, the transformation didn't happen essentially at the beginning of the film. I think they could have had those moments while still being completely ridiculous. the very beginning of this film, I really was watching it thinking, okay, this is going to be straight up comedy. But later on, I mean, there are some creepy moments. And I will say, Michael Parks, for me, one of the best performances of 2014. We haven't done an award show this year. I don't know if we'll get to it or not, but he is certainly one of the best performances for 2014 in a horror film.
I think we'll save that for next year, since this is really our reboot. It'll be our first official year.
Yeah, we'll get a full year in, but I will throw him out there. He's a fantastic actor, and like I said, even Red State. I didn't hate Red State. Red State just was one that I was more thinking that's it. After I watched it.
For me, it was just horribly mismarketed.
Mhm. Yeah, it's not a horror film.
No, not in the least. Well,
no, I would agree. Yeah. But, we just have a little bit of time left here. And, of course, next week, I know we're going to be doing Rec 4 or Record 4. I always say Rec. I don't know. I know it's Record, but I don't know. It just doesn't sound right. Rec 4, I know we have. I'll be having a review for Morris County. What else do we have next week, Todd? I know we have a few things we've already settled on.
Death Row Game Show, I think we had said, or and I jumped the gun. Were we tackling that one? I'm already double checking with you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think we might do that one. And I know we have Morris County, which is another anthology film that's been getting some good buzz. And just stay tuned to our Facebook page as we announce more titles for you. It's great being back with you guys. We hope you had an amazing New Year. Be sure to stay tuned to the Horror Society page and the Flesh Wound Radio page for all the upcoming shows. Be sure to tune into the Calling Hours podcast as always. And hit us up next week, same time, same channel. And Todd, anything to add?
No, other than Happy New Year, and see you next week.
See you next week, guys.
Universal Studios Hollywood is introducing the California Neighbor Pass. For the neighborly price of just $119 online, you get over 200 days in the park. So swing by and share some laughs with your neighbors, like the Minions. Or Homer Simpson.
Go nuts.
Even go on an adventure with Harry Potter.
Stay close and follow me.
Visit UniversalStudiosHollywood.com to get over 200 days of thrills, laughter, and wonder with the new California Neighbor Pass for $119 online. Pass valid for 9 months from selected first visit date. Blackout dates and restrictions apply.